start now. Welcome back, and we appreciate you visiting us today. Happy New Year's, everybody. We hope you had a great, safe, and sane Happy New Year, and we appreciate you visiting us tonight in the Hive. And on YouTube, if you like the show, please subscribe. That will really help out, and we will notify you of future broadcasts. We're going to have a lot more broadcasts. And today we have a special guest. We have a three-time United States Open champion, and he was the younger brother of the first Speedway champion in 1968. He's an amazing rider, and we would like to introduce to you our guest tonight, and that is the amazing number 3. Remember that number, Gene Woods. Hey, Gene, how you doing?
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Welcome to the Hive. Doing great.
We're having a little audio issue. You're still a little choppy. Try it again.
Okay, well, hang in there with me, okay?
There you go.
We'll try to make this work. We'll try to make this work. Oh, so tell us a little bit about your shoe Hall of Fame. You have this Hot Shoe Hall of Fame in Las Vegas, and you have a bunch of speedway riders, flat trackers, and you have celebrities in the motorsports. What is all this about, Gene?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the Trailblazer organization, and I've been going there for a few years. And I just kind of felt there was a need for something else. The Trailblazers is one of the neatest things ever a get together to go to. But there are some guys out there, the first year I went, the next year I went to it, some guys had passed away. And there were guys that deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. So I just thought, hey, there's room for another thing. And I thought the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame was a really unique idea because a hot shoe is extremely personal to motorcycle riders. It's kind of a thing. You may have a few during your whole career. You may only have one. And it's a neat conversation piece. So, when you're done racing, they say, did you hang up your hot shoe, right? Well, now you hang it up at the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so awesome. And how many riders do you have in the Hall of Fame right now?
Yeah, I don't know why we're having audio issues with you. When you go in and out, when you come back, there's an audio issue, but try it again.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. I was going to ask you, how many people do you have in your Hot Shoe Hall of Fame?
Well, I think we're at about 50 riders right now, and about the same what we call industry icons. Now, industry icons are someone that made a huge contribution to the industry, and maybe they necessarily weren't a racer or didn't have a hot shoe, but people like Preston Petty, he had a hot shoe, but still he made a huge contribution. He was the inventor of the plastic fender. It goes on and on. We have Mike Capelite, some of you may remember, he was the guy that actually started my brother racing. And he ran Escape Country, ran many other racetracks. He was a pioneer. He wrote many manuals for repair. Crazy stuff. Tom Seymour, Saddleman Seats, that he sponsors half the Class C guys out there. It just goes on and on. We have a huge list. Chuck Trickle, I don't know if you've heard of Dick Trickle, the NASCAR driver. Well, this is brother Chuck. Chuck was the original Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki dealer here in Vegas. So many things, many unique people in the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame.
That's awesome. That's a good idea, Gene. That's really good. So congratulations. I hope it works more, better, and keep getting more hot shoes and more famous riders, because that is really cool to preserve that history for the future generations.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'll give you a little idea who's already in there. We've got some pretty amazing guys. Charlie Venegas is in there. Larkin White. I have a really unique hot shoe from Larkin White. It was painted by Von Dutch's daughter, and it's autographed in there. Billy Gennaro, the 10-time National Speedway champion. Steve Moorhead, one of the best Class C racers of all times. Bert Harkins, the Scottish champion. Wild Bill Cody. Dub Farrell. Garth Brow, the fastest guy I ever saw at Ascot. Probably the best speedway rider in the United States, in my opinion, ever. Michael Bast. Norm Robinson, the East Coast champion. Just just name a few: Mike Faria, Steve Lucero, Gary Hicks, Dave Sims, Chuck Jones, one of the famous Class C riders. David Aldana, how about him, huh? Everybody knows who David is.
Love it.
Jim the Animal Fishback, Brian Farnsworth, the guy that ran Kawasaki, KTM, Eddie Castro. These are just some of the guys that are in the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame.
Man, that's a list of famous riders. Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Well, you do some pretty amazing things, Gene. And one of the things that you're setting up, which is really cool, it caught my interest, is that 50-year anniversary of the On Any Sunday movie. I guess there's a little delay going on because of the city of Las Vegas or the state of Nevada, but it's after 50 years, and there's going to be a party going on watching the movie. Tell us about that.
Well, what we're going to have is we're going to have the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame grand opening, and it's actually, I have a go-kart track on Fremont Street where it's located, and in front of the go-kart track, it's a covered area. We're going to have a racing motorcycle show, and then above us is a 60,000 square foot facility that has a movie theater in it and a bar, and it serves food and everything else. So literally all in the same complex, we're going to have this whole event, which, so you can sit in there, you can have some food, you can bullshit with your friends, and you can watch On Any Sunday, and you can visit with guys that you've known for 50 years.
Wow. I've been texting Mert Lawwell, and I'm telling him about it. And I said, Mert, get your butt over to Vegas, to Gene's place. And I'm trying to get Mert over there. He's an old guy by now, but I'm trying.
No, I've been talking to Mert, and I'm trying to get him to give up his hot shoe, but he says he only has one, and he's keeping it on his wall. So.
He's a smart man.
Yeah.
Smart. Oh, that's so cool. So when is this event going to be held? Because it got delayed, right, from the 30th of January to
yeah, where it was going to be the 31st of
March.
January. Yeah, we moved it to May 1st. And it's in conjunction with the Mika motorcycle auction. So a lot of the motorcycle enthusiasts are in town during that time. So that's why we did it during that time.
Nice. I'm sure you'll have a great turnout.
Yeah.
We wish you luck.
I'm really happy. Yeah.
Oh, man.
We're really happy.
Sorry. That's okay. I was just saying, you think of some really cool things, and that was one of them.
Well, I'm glad somebody else liked it besides me, so.
I do. I want to change the topic now, and going way back about your older brother, Rick. How did Rick get into motorcycles? What age? And how did he get into like Speedway over at the Whiteman Stadium in 1968? How did all that happen with Rick? Because he became very famous. And what was the beginnings of Rick Woods?
Well, Rick was 10 years older than me, so we lived in Huntington Beach, and I mentioned a guy that's in the icon section of the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame. His name is Mike Capelite. Well, Mike had a company called Bay Motorcycles, and he was a motorcycle repair shop, and he made the race bikes go fast, and it was in the very infancy of racing. They didn't really have any Trackmaster frames or anything like that in the early 60s. So we lived in Huntington, and my brother started hanging out down at the motorcycle shop, and he wound up getting a bike and going to El Toro Speedway. This is about 1964. And I used to tag along with him, and I was the kid in the grandstands that sold the cycle news, right? And I used to stomp on the soda cans, and I stomped on the soda cans, and they wrapped around my tennis shoes. So I would walk around, and I'd act like I had a hot shoe on, like a little dork, And so it started there, and this is El Toro Speedway. In about 64, 65, Wes Cooley was the promoter there. And Wes owned some old JAPs. Well, he brought those out, and he had my brother and Steve Scott and a few other guys jump on them and do exhibitions there. Then they started having a little class for them. About 1960, early 1968, Dude Criswell actually got a hold of it and put some professional races on at Whiteman Stadium. And that was the infancy. That was the start of the modern era of Speedway racing as we know it today.
That's great. Well, I did I did some studying on the El Toro Speedway, and how long did that last? Because I thought that the history says that it just lasted a short time because they couldn't get a lot of fans. And also, I read that the promoter, he paid the riders just a flat $10 show-up fee. So the riders eventually said, "No, forget it. We're not going to ride for $10." Is that true?
Um, Probably not. It's probably somebody's story that they told. It was in existence for quite some time. It got, they ran midgets there, they ran all kinds of things there, and what happened was the property value became so much because this was right off the freeway in Orange County. This wasn't, and this is where all the $1 million homes are now. So the property became too valuable, and the property was sold off. But I don't think it was anything the promoter did during that time. I mean, motorcycle racing was growing at that time.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I read that on the internet and I thought, God, we're talking about that. I wasn't even planning on talking about that. I thought, oh, I will ask you about El Toro Speedway because that was before Whiteman Stadium. And then your brother became the first Speedway champion in 1968 in a modern day era. Your brother was the first United States Speedway champion. That is so cool at Whiteman Stadium. And what drove Rick, your brother, for success? Like what made him so good, so young?
Well, he was a very good short tracker at the time when he rode El Toro on and the other tracks. He was the ACA #1 at the time, and then he went on to race Ascot, and he was actually the #1 novice in the nation at Ascot. And then he moved up to the amateur level, and that was about the time that they started riding Speedway. Was right in those eras. About 66, he was the #1 novice at Ascot. 67, they started transitioning a little bit of exhibition on Speedway bikes. And by 68, they had some real races going, and you could actually race. It just flourished when it opened at Whiteman. It went to Trojan, and you could make more money, and you could race close to home. Was what everybody was doing, and all the Class C guys were going, wow, I can race 4 or 5 nights a week and make more money, and not have to crash at 150 miles an hour.
That's great. I was talking to Greg Hazerock. He was an early day Speedway rider. I'm really fascinated with the 1968, if you can't tell. The beginning of Speedway really fascinates me so much. And he told me that yesterday, Greg Hazerock told me that all the early day Speedway riders, they all came from the Class C racing. So when they started Speedway, they had no idea how to ride Speedway. So just were riding Speedway like the Class C, like, oh, two-wheeling it and riding it like that. And so
Yeah,
I guess that's
absolutely.
what Rick was doing too, right? It was just two-wheeling
Yeah,
it like Class C.
yeah, they were riding them like a normal motorcycle, and when Rick won the first national, they were sitting down on the seat still. And about that time is when Ivan and Barry came over and schooled everybody and showed them how to really ride one correctly.
We love Ivan Majors and Barry Briggs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, they're awesome. They were awesome. So I wish I had a brother who was the first Speedway champion in 1968. That would be really cool. That would be awesome. So how did that influence your racing career, having this amazing brother?
Well, I mean, it obviously opened a lot of doors for me. I wasn't just some kid that wanted to race motorcycles. I was Rick's little brother. So it allowed me to have some really cool things. I mean, even the first junior Speedway bike that was built, they didn't build it for me because I was just some kid that wanted to ride it. They built it for me because I was Rick's brother. And, I loved racing just as much as Rick did. And it just turned into a deal. It opened a lot of doors for me. Having him around was a great experience. He's dearly missed right now. But it was a great time in life.
Amazing. You were like a celebrity. When I was a little kid, I used to open the Cycle News and I would see Gene Woods all the time. And then I would open the motorcycle magazine. I'd see little Gene Woods all the time. I'm like, I like that guy. So you're all over the place. And I go to Costa Mesa Speedway and then there's Larry Huffman interviewing you. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Well, all that stuff in $1 will get you a soda.
It was pretty cool. when you're a little kid watching another little kid do that, and a lover of motorcycles, it's pretty cool. So a lot of people admired you, when you were a young kid. So that was cool.
I
And
appreciate that. It was, it was a fun time in life.
you've always been one of my heroes. So it's really an honor to have you on the show tonight. And because I have a lot of respect for you and your beloved brother, Rick, rest in peace. And we love the woods so much.
Well, thanks, Brian. We appreciate it. And it's, it was a great time. It was great. We've established a lot of great friendships through racing over the years, and um, Speedway was great, and it was great to be involved in Speedway in the '70s and through the mid '80s when Speedway was at its peak, and it opened a lot of doors, met a lot of great people. It allowed me to go on to other things in my life that were, I'm still hooked to racing.
That's awesome. You're going to be into racing your whole life until you're not here no more, I think so.
Well, like I said, hopefully I just hit the wall and that's the end.
Hey, how old were you when you first started racing mini bikes and stuff like that? Like getting into really racing. What was your age? Like 8 years old or something?
Yeah, I was about 8 years old when we actually started really competing. Yeah.
Where did you ride? Saddleback or?
Well, Saddleback wasn't even in existence then. We raced at Trojan Speedway and other little tracks around. There weren't a lot of mini bikes. They actually most of them were home built mini bikes, and Taco mini bikes was just coming out around that time. So, that was it was the infancy of mini bikes at that point.
That's cool. And you're a part of it. Who were your competitors in the early days? Is there any names that we remember that were like your age and you were like fighting and beating and them beating you? Was there any guys like that we know?
Well, you would know Jeff Ward, Davey
Yeah.
Carlson, Zach Barrett, all those kids, Bobby Toko. Those guys are still around. They still ride
Mhm.
motorcycles, and they're all guys that we grew up with. Wayne Rainey, it goes on and on.
I raced Randy Mamola. Do you know who that is? Randy Mamola, he was a road race champion back a few years ago.
Oh no, absolutely. I've heard of Randy.
Yeah, I opened an old program when I was racing at Saddleback in like '72 or something, and it said Randy Mamola, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I bet he beat me." So,
Cool.
that's cool. That's cool. So
Yeah.
you were racing Speedway. How old were you when you got into Speedway? Like 16, 17?
I was actually 17 my first year. I wasn't really planning on riding Speedway. Actually, I wanted to be a hockey player, but we moved to Mammoth Mountain, and they didn't even have an ice rink, so I couldn't be a hockey player. And then when we moved back down to Southern California, I was 17 years old, and I started riding Speedway.
You were good. I was racing when you were started too, and you were really good. I think they started you straight in like second division, and then you quickly went to first division after that. Is that true?
Well, what happened was about I think '75 was my first year, and I rode second division. I rode the last 4 weeks of the season. Actually, is all I rode, and actually I won a couple of little second division championships or whatever they were called at the time. And in the 1976, Bruce Flanders and Steve Evans, who ran Irwindale Speedway at the time, caught a bunch of flack because they drafted me onto the LA Sprockets. And I was literally here. They draft this second division kid that really doesn't know what he's doing, and they put him on the LA Sprockets.
Wow, that is cool. So what did you think being like a D2 rider and all of a sudden being thrown into the Sprockets, excuse me, the Sprockets with like Mike Bass and Bruce the Fox Penhall, and then there's this little second division Gene Woods.
Yeah, it was, I thought, yeah, I mean, you better learn to stand on the gas because you're with some fast guys here. These are guys that I watched, obviously I watched Mike, my brother battled it out, and all these guys, now they've thrown me right in the mix with these guys. And fortunately, we used to have a lot of we had a lot of practice sessions at Irwindale, and with the help of Mike Bast, I mean, I rode many laps right next to Mike Bast, and he's the one that got me up to speed. And I mean, it was kind of neat. My brother helped me out in the very beginning, and then I had Mike helping me, and the rest of the team. It was a pretty cool experience.
Wow. You rode with Mike as a teammate. Like you were paired up with Mike. I noticed a lot. Is that true? You and Mike were kind of like teaming. He was probably winning all the races and you're probably second or third.
No, actually, with it, the whole point was to get a 5-1. So, I somehow adapted to riding the outside, and Mike, loved to ride the pole. So our deal was I'd ride the outside and he'd run the pole, and if I wasn't fast enough, he'd slow him down, and it paid the same whether he won or I won, so it didn't make any difference. And believe me, he made sure that I stayed right up there next to him.
Wow. Did you have any experiences with Bruce Penhall since he was on that? Did he help you, or you were so young he probably didn't even care about you? But was he like friendly to you, or did he just was doing his own thing?
Well, Bruce and I went to high school together, so I mean I've known Bruce since the very beginning.
Oh.
And how Bruce got into Speedway was his father Leroy actually sponsored my brother Rick. That's how they got involved.
Wow. So you and Bruce were like old friends since like high school.
Yeah, we've known
awesome.
each other a long time. That's for sure. He did. He probably has the most determination of any racer that I've ever seen.
When you race Bruce Penhall, you have to give it everything you have, and you're lucky if you could beat that guy because he is so good. And when you race Bruce Penhall, I think you're exhausted when you finish racing him because he's so hard to beat.
Well, during every dog has their day, and during his day, he was definitely the guy to beat.
No doubt. He was like, I don't know, he was like a first year rider or whatever. He's like second year rider, and he was like number 2 in points. I think Bass had like 13-point average in that league, and Penhall had like 11, and that was only like a second year of Speedway or something. And I'm like, how did a second year rider get almost to number 2 in points in like 1 year or so? So that guy was amazing.
Yeah, he was.
Wow. So how did you get your sponsors? You had, well, going back to the sprockets, you guys got second place in that sort of league. It was called the National Speedway League or something. I guess the Bakersfield Bandits won that league, and they had Doug Farrell, and then they had like Steve Nutter, and then they had some really good hitters. But you guys had like the stars. I mean, they had you and then Wood, Penhall, and you guys got second place. I was really shocked that you didn't win that because you were my favorite team.
Yeah, I mean, we probably, looking back, we should have won it. And it was probably, we had a lot of rider injuries that year. We had a lot of inexperienced riders like myself. I would do real good at Irwindale and San Bernardino when the tracks were real deep, but I just wasn't. I hadn't figured out how to ride on a hard slick track yet. Not to win any races or make any points. I mean, I could get around there, but it was just a combination. It was a team effort at that point for sure.
Yeah, I was reading the Bakersfield. They won like every meet in Bakersfield, and what's his name? The promoter. What's his name? Digger Helm.
Digger Helm.
Digger Helm. I couldn't remember his name. Digger. He went ahead and he did a write-up, and he wrote like, "I'm making my track hard and slick for Doug Farrell and all these sort of pull riders and hard slick riders." And then when the teams like Irwindale come to our track, they have a hard time because we totally prepare our track for our team, and they won that championship probably because of that.
Well, and here's a little history for you. Digger Helm's hot shoe is in the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame.
He was a good rider, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was national number.
Jeez, that was insane. That guy, I thought he was just a promoter, and then I start seeing all these write-ups and all this stuff on his racing days. He was I guess,
Yeah.
Class C rider, and then he rode Speedway also. Is that right?
Yeah, he didn't do much speedway. He was really known for his Class C racing and his car racing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And promoter of Bakersfield.
And the promoter, and probably one of the nicest guys you ever met in your life.
I saw him when I was a young whippersnapper, but I never really got to meet him. And he passed away, rest in peace. So we're gonna miss him. So that's cool. Um, how how did you get all your sponsors? You had like all these sponsors. You had like 7-Up. See that picture above me right here? There's you in a 7-Up uniform, and then you had In-N-Out burgers and everything. And when I was racing, when I was driving my mom's little Pinto station wagon to San Bernardino, I would look to my left and I would see Gene Woods flying down the freeway in this like beautiful custom van, and I'm like, that's Gene Woods. And then you're going to the, how did you get all those sponsors?
Well, I never wanted a job was the real secret, you know. So I just had to figure out a way to make it happen. And it's, you know, it's basic, but it's not easy. Let's put it that way. You know, you have to have some performance, and it's all about giving more than you get. You know, I mean, you have to show them the value, and
Oh,
it's hard to do.
oh, that's great. Oh, well, you did a good job. You got a lot of cool sponsors. You know, you're always like having these cool sponsors. And I didn't know much about Rick, but I saw you were like always flamboyant, and you had all these like people behind you, and that was really great. You were able to like market yourself and to get a lot of good sponsorships. That's
Well,
awesome.
that was part
So
of the deal. I mean, if you're just unfortunately, if you're just a rider, you're just a rider, and at the end of the day, you know, you have your equipment and stuff to sell. So you got to be able to make a living at it. You know, a lot of these guys that say they're professional racers, my question to them is really is, did you ever pay your rent and your bills and feed your family racing?
maybe not.
You know,
uh,
that's, yeah. But you know, I mean
well,
that to me, if it has to become a living, you know.
yeah, you did a good job of marketing yourself. You understood the business side of Speedway and motorsport racing also. We'll get into that. But so that's good. You're able to capitalize on your like you have more experience of marketing than probably a college graduate. So that's really good.
Well, learn by doing, I guess, you know.
That's
I've had a
great.
couple of job offers. I had a couple of job offers, but I never wanted a job. So
You are so successful at racing, forget the job and let's go racing and make lots of money. So you did that
there you
one
go.
really great. Awesome. And what was your favorite racetrack that you raced on? I guess you liked the deep dirt around the outside, like Irwindale and like San Bernardino back in the day. But like, what was your favorite track? Irwindale?
Well, you just named both of them. Those were my two favorite tracks. I'd have to say Irwindale was probably, you know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. It really is. They were both really fun to ride.
Yeah. And Irwindale was a little longer, so you could go a little faster and get a little more, into it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. That is really cool. So, talking about speedway tracks, you, I guess, have promoted a few speedway races yourself, or at Las Vegas. I guess it's called the Sin City Speedway. Sin City. That's funny. Tell me more about like how you got that name. I guess it's from the Sin City. And are you going to do more races, or how many races have you done? I don't really know much about it.
No, actually, my promoting thing started in 1990. I bought Victorville Speedway. It was struggling, basically out of business. So I bought Victorville Speedway, and we sold out the very first night when we opened up, and we would sell out 50% of the races during the season. It was really a phenomenal event. We put on some great shows up there for people, and I did that for about 6 years, and then built the car track up there. It's a 3-mile dirt oval right next to it. And we had a little bit of financial problems. I had a problem with a partner is what happened. I got hornswoggled by a partner. And so that put Victorville Speedway out of business. So down the road, many years later, I still love Speedway, and we had the opportunity to put a Speedway track up here in Las Vegas, right by the Strip. And I took that opportunity and brought in Sammy Tanner as a partner, and Sammy and I hired Nate Perkins to run the thing. And you asked how the thing got named Sin City Speedway. Well, Nate Perkins named it Sin City Speedway. I wanted to call it like Las Vegas Speedway or something stupid, and he came up with that, and it came out really, really cool. And the whole thing was great. It just didn't work. You know, there's 50 headliners up here every night. There's too much competition. It's not conducive to watch a little motorsports. Like Victorville worked great because there's nothing to do in the Victor Valley. Well, in the Las Vegas Valley, there's everything to do. So that was the failure of it.
I didn't know. I didn't know much about it. I knew you had some races, and I guess maybe if they did betting or something on the speedway races, maybe they'd be more popular. You know, they try to book the races, who's going to win or something. But I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I raced at Victorville back in the early 90s when you had that track, and I was amazed at how many people were filling that stands, and the track was pretty good. I had a few holes and bumps. I had a video for many years, and I was doing good, and I hit a couple holes, and I would do wheelies and stuff. But it was a lot of fun, and you had lots of success over there at Victorville. So that was, I didn't know that was your track. That was really great.
Yeah, those were fun times. It was great to be on the other side of the fence as a promoter for a while. So riders don't really understand until you do it. You don't understand. You know, promoters aren't always getting rich.
Yeah, I really wanted to win when I raced at Victorville, and I was doing really good, and then I caught a couple big hole ruts and stuff. And Carlos Cardona, number 82. Do you remember Carlos Cardona? He was the one that got Billy Hamill into Speedway, Carlos.
Right.
And he passed me. And I lost you there. I lost you. So hopefully we'll get you back, Gene. Come back, Gene. Come back. And we lost Gene Woods. Hopefully we'll get Gene Woods back. Are you there, Gene? I don't want to do. I think we lost Gene. I might have to do this show alone unless we get Gene back on the show. Oh, what happened to Gene? He left. And I was going to ask Gene about his racing and about like how many, what made him stop, but he's gone. So we're going to go ahead and talk more about Gene Woods. Just an amazing rider. Gene was really just, crazy good and in his day. And Gene just was really popular.
Are you there, Brian?
We're coming back. There we go. You back, Gene?
I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back. Somebody called my phone. It's difficult. So we're about to be invaded.
Don't call Gene.
I know my daughter and my grandkids are about to invade us here shortly. So I'll show you all those guys. If you want to see some stuff, I want to show you guys.
Go ahead, show us what you got.
I want to show you something I'm really proud of. It's my ice bike out there, but I got some old Speedway junk sitting around here. There's a lot of pictures of my brother and my old racing stuff. But
nice.
Dogs are probably going to bark, so stuff here. But
you got a nice pool too, there, Gene. You should show us your pool. It's nice.
So I'll show you this stuff in there. This is Michelle. This is my shower. My better half. I'm going to show you.
Hi, dear.
I'm going to show you something I have in my living room that's kind of cool. I think everybody should have one of these, but it's on here.
You have a chrome ice bike, I think, in your stairs. Look at that thing. Wow. That's like a Speedway bike, right?
Yeah, and I have a Speedway bike also that we're doing all chrome like that. A couple of
Nice.
Couple of taco mini bikes up there. But yeah, I'll go back in the office where we can hear. So
Okay.
there's a picture you have on the screen, and that's her when she was a little baby.
Hi.
Right here. We have her right up here.
This is
Your
my little
beautiful
grandson
daughter.
Harley.
Hi.
Yeah,
Hi, Harley.
that's my little grandson Harley.
Hi, Harley.
My granddaughter Abby.
Hi.
Hi, Abby.
We're gonna go back in the office where we can hear.
Okay. Very cool.
So yeah, we have a.
That's
All right. Okay. Are we still there?
that's yeah, I got you. You're on.
Okay.
You're live. That's where did you get that ice bike? That's all chrome. It's very beautiful.
Well, we went through it and did it. So we've done a twin cam Jawa. We're doing that right now, and I have a Japanese Speedway bike also. That stuff's going on display down at the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's. Do you have any of your old racing bikes, or did you sell them all? Your old Speedway bikes?
No, I sold them all. There's one back east in New York that's a monoshock that I'm trying to buy back, but the guy won't sell it. So,
How many years did you race Speedway, and what made you stop?
um, I raced about 11. Well, the actual from 75 to 86, so 11 years, and really kind of what made me stop was it was declining. The sport was declining about that time. It was really hard to make a living at it, and it was time to move on and do something else for my family. And there was some other circumstances, but that was the main reason. It was on a decline, and you couldn't make the money that you were making years prior.
That's true. And so you went ahead and you went on to like NASCAR and monster trucks, and you became like a famous car driver of all these different motorsports. How did all that happen? And tell us about your NASCAR and your monster truck racing days. That was cool.
Well, the monster truck, I actually got a call from a friend of mine, Ed Beckley, who was a monster truck race promoter, and they needed somebody to drive the King Cobra, which was a really famous monster truck at the time. And they allowed me to run a series, which was called the Champion of Champions series, and I was very lucky. I damn near won the thing. I wound up second, but it was a real great experience. It was fun to drive. It was something totally different, unique. And then we went on and we did a lot of pavement. So I always wanted to drive sprint cars. So I got to drive a sprint car. We built a sprint car and I drove it for a couple of seasons. Nothing great success in it, but really had fun and really learned a lot. And at that time, NASCAR was getting just huge. And I thought, well, maybe we can give that a shot, right? We'll try to put some money together and do that thing. Well, I was, through racing, you meet a lot of people. So I was very fortunate to have some very good friends that helped me get into that. And we put a Grand National West team together, and we had Dodge sponsoring us. We actually built the first Dodge on the West Coast. When Dodge came back into NASCAR, Everham had two of them, and we built the third one on the West Coast. And so we had factory support there, and we had a great sponsor, David Gingerian, who owned CNWB credit cards, basically gave me an unlimited budget to go racing in the beginning. And so we got to go race NASCAR, and it was, it was really cool. It was a really great experience. Racing at a higher level, where you're spending lots of money. I mean, you're spending a ton of money to get the races every week.
Wow.
You spend
So
more.
were you able
You spend
to
more
live
in one.
from that? Were you able to earn a good living from racing all that, the monster truck and the cars?
Yeah, well, what I did is, I was always very careful that, like I said, I didn't want to have a job. So what I did is I put something together where I could make enough money and pay myself a salary to race. And so on top of the prize money and being able to make a little living, that's kind of how we made it happen, and I had to, that was the business model that I had. Because I'm really not qualified. I'm not qualified for a job. I'd have to work in a gas station or something,
You've never worked in your life. But you've been successful, so that's really cool. Yeah, like I say, you should be like a teacher in college about business and how marketing and stuff because you've done a really great job of not working and being able to market yourself. So that's really cool. That's really commendable. It's really
Yeah.
nice.
Thanks,
So
Brian.
you have a daughter right here on our screen up here above your head, and
Yeah.
she married a famous Speedway rider named Ryan Fisher. Do you know Ryan Fisher? Do you know Ryan Fisher? And
Well,
they have a
unfortunately,
family. We just saw the children, Harley. And what's that like? Your daughter marrying a Speedway star, Ryan Fisher, and then now you have all these grandkids, all in the family.
well, I have some breaking news for you. They're divorced. So,
Oh, they're divorced.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I am so
yeah. Well,
sorry.
things happen, right?
Oh, hey,
Yeah,
we've all had bad relationships, and we know what that's
yeah.
like.
Boy, have we.
It's a tough. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that. I'm behind in the
Yeah,
times. I'm very behind.
that's okay.
Sorry. So you have a grandson named Harley, and he was riding motorcycles, and then he got into like football. He was like this hardcore football player. What's Harley nowadays?
He's still playing football. That's what he's doing. He loves football. Yeah.
He he's a tough
And then
cat. He's a tough kid.
he's a tough little guy. And then my granddaughter Abby, she's a level 8 gymnast. So she just she competes in all the gymnastic stuff. So they're very competitive, to say the least.
Where, where, where did they get that from, Gene?
I don't know. Must have been their mom.
Their mom. Let's see, their mom or their grandpa or their dad or whatever. There's lots of
Could have
people
been.
there. They all like
Yeah.
women.
Their uncle, their
Oh wow.
stepdad. I mean, I'll give you a little family history that's kind of interesting, right? So there was my mom loved racing. My dad wasn't really into it. My mom was a real big race fan. So there was my brother, and then there was me, and then there was Daylin that was born, and then obviously I divorced Daylin's mom. She married Mike Faria, so Daylin's stepdad is Mike Faria, right? And then the grandkids are Ryan Fisher. So it's quite a bit of racing lineage there.
Oh wow. So
We
is
call it as
Harley gonna ever race?
we don't know. He's hell on wheels in a go-kart, I can tell you that.
Well, I'm sure he could race Speedway one day and do really good with all that heritage behind him.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But you
So
you gotta let the kids do what they want to do. If they don't want to race Speedway and play football, let them play football.
yeah, I'm not going to force anybody to go racing if they don't really want to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Racing like you're a racer. I've been a racer a little bit, and I talked to Wilbur Hancock yesterday. I was talking to Wilbur, and he's a racer, and he's coming on our show tomorrow night. Wilbur Hancock, don't miss that show. And
Well,
these
let
racers
me
like
tell you.
yourself, Wilbur, and you have that burning desire to be a racer in your heart. Like
Yeah.
it's there, and you don't have to be told that you love racing or you want to be a speedway champion. It's all like inside, and all the great riders, they just have it. It's a natural. It's like inborn, and they don't have to be told anything. It's all like there.
Well, let me tell you a little story, okay? We lived in Costa Mesa. Daylin was a little baby. Well, our neighbors about 6 houses down, right around the corner, were the Hancocks. Well, Greg Hancock's mother was Daylin's babysitter, right? So David and Greg would hang out. They all went to Speedway. Bill Hancock, their father, one of the greatest guys ever. He used to paint my stuff, my cars and the vans that you saw. Bill was the guy that painted them. And, I would go over there, and there was a field next to Greg's house, and he had a little ATC 70. And on a couple of occasions, I would take him over there, and I'd put him on the front of the thing, and I'd give him a ride, slide the thing around and jump. And I honestly thought Greg was the most least likely person ever to become a speedway rider. He just didn't. He was just so calm and mellow and such a nice little kid. I really thought David was going to be the Speedway rider, and here it turns out Greg is the greatest American of all times. You know.
I think Greg and Bruce Penhall ranked the number one and number two best speedway riders in United States history of all time.
Absolutely, on an international level, without a doubt.
I mean, I would love to have Greg Hancock on the show. He probably doesn't want to come on, but he's such a nice guy, and and everybody loves Greg Hancock. Get Greg Hancock on the show. It would be
There
great.
you go. There you
And
go.
so Greg was. How did Greg ride mini bikes when he was a little whippersnapper? Was he any good? I mean, or was he just like normal, or what?
Well, no, this is before he ever got on a junior speedway bike. He was just a little kid, and then he got on the junior speedway program with, I know Bill and Bobby Swartz were great friends, and Bobby's the one that kind of got him started in that whole thing, and it just evolved from there. It was really a lot of really great kids came out of the junior program.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even today when we see kids coming up like Hancock, and we have Paula Misi. Hello, there's your beautiful wife.
Everybody's waiting for me to take them to dinner.
We want to go eat tacos.
Tacos? Hey, invite me to tacos.
Yeah, no tacos in the Philippines.
I make tacos every night. I make them in my home. So you have to run now, or can you talk for a minute more?
I can talk for a couple minutes. They're going to come in here and bug me. I know it because they're all hungry. So
tell them to go get the tacos and bring them back, and we can have tacos together during the live stream.
Yeah. Well, we got reservations in 13 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll make this fast then. So anyways, let's see. We got to make this show a little faster. So
we can always do another one too, Brian.
Yeah, we can do another one. That's fine. Because I mean, how could we not? We could do another show with Gene Woods because we have a lot to talk about. But
we can just do one, and I'll tell stories about the other riders that probably shouldn't be told.
Well, you have some stories about Bruce Penhall, I think.
Yeah, but I'm going to save those.
I think Bruce would kill you. Bruce is going to come on my show in a few weeks or a week or two. So he's going to tell some stories about you. You tell stories about him.
Well, can I call in when he's there?
Yeah, I can put you on live stream, and then we can have you pop in. When Bruce comes in, I'll pop you in, and you can hassle Bruce for a couple minutes.
There you go.
Oh. So yeah. So anyway, you did a spectacular job in all your promotions and everything, and you have a rich history in U.S. Speedway with your brother Rick, and the list goes on and on. I want to ask you one last question, or one of the last questions. Besides the Woods brothers, Rick and Gene, who's your favorite brother combinations in U.S. Speedway history? You have the Milne brothers, you have the Bass brothers, you have the Moran brothers, you have all these brothers, and you have the Romo brothers now. So who is your favorite brother Speedway team of all time in United States history?
Well, excluding Rick being my brother, Mike and Steve Bass were two of the neatest guys ever. I really like those guys and respect them a lot, and I thought they were great racers. I knew Jack. I never got to see him race. Jack and Cordy, I never saw that. The Sexton brothers, it goes on and on, but you've got to look at the Bass brothers. Those guys, they dominated Speedway for so many years that you've got to look at them as the American brother team of all time.
They were amazing. Did your brother Rick like the Bass brothers? They're always beating Rick, and then Rick beat them, and then Rick was the star from 68 to 72. He won 3 United States championships, and then from 72 on, I think it was, Mike Bass won 7 United States champions. So were they friends or enemies? I don't know.
No, there was actually some bad blood between Rick and them, and and it was the opposite with us. Matter of fact, Mike Bass is coming over to see me on on the 5th, he's coming through Vegas and going to visit with me. And Mike and I have always been stayed in contact, and we were pretty close there at one time. And I always got along great with him. So my brother was a little more feisty than I am. I was a little quiet.
Yeah, I met your brother one time. One time I met Rick Woods. It was at the Malibu Grand Prix. Do you remember that one? Over by the Hooters, by Disneyland, or by Anaheim Stadium.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we had do you remember that Malibu Grand Prix?
Oh yeah, I remember it.
Do you remember back about 75, they had like all the Speedway riders go and race the karts? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I had my shoulder was dislocated. I set fast time though. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. You're a bad boy. I that was my first year racing too, and I was in line. We all had to stand in line, and I turned around, and there's this guy. He's like 6 foot something, and it was your brother, Rick Woods. And I'm like, I was a first year rider, and he didn't know who I was, and I said, "Hi, Rick," and he said, "Oh, kid." He didn't like
Very
me.
cool. No, he
so
didn't.
that's Rick was kind of he was kind of I guess he has to get to know you. So,
Yeah, he was probably actually one of the nicest guys you ever wanted to meet. He just he didn't he wasn't somebody that would go up and just talk to somebody.
no, when I said hi, Rick, he looked at me and turned his head and said, "Don't talk to me." I felt embarrassed.
He was probably kidding.
No, because Rick Woods is always my hero, and I still to this day have this vision of your brother like racing in turn 1 and 2 in Costa Mesa on the pole. He was a pole rider almost all the time, and he was on the pole just flying. And he had Schaefer's Speedway Research hot bike, and Rick was just flying in his early days. And I never got that image of Rick just hauling butt out of my mind. He was an amazing rider. So
there you go.
Brother was like,
there's a Speedway Research 4-valve conversion right there sitting on my coffee table.
wow. Ed Schaefer, right?
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, there's some.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm going to show you. You can kind of see there's a picture of Rick up there. So, got some
nice,
some cool stuff of them. But no, I've got boxes and boxes of stuff and albums and everything. So it's really really cool. A lot of great memories.
Yeah, your brother. Wow. So your brother had Schaefer as his tuner. He had Penhall as his, and Penhall and Sagalos as their sponsors. And I mean,
right.
Your brother had it going big time. So he had big support. That's great. Well, we're going to let you go to dinner, I guess. Maybe you get in trouble if you like.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have them call you and
thank
you up tonight.
Thank you, Gene Woods, for your show today. And thank you so much for sharing some of your history. Everybody wants to know about yourself and your brother, Rick, because you guys are all like legends and classics. So we appreciate you coming on the show and talking more about it. So thank you.
All right. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on this thing. You're doing a great job, and you're keeping the history alive of Speedway, and you're just you're putting a lot of effort into this thing, and believe me, I appreciate it. And I'm sure most of Speedway appreciates what you're doing. So keep up the good work.
Well, we really like you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, Gene. That's Gene Woods visiting us in the Hive today. Gene has this rich history, and his daughter here, and Gene, he was an amazing Speedway rider and a legend of the Speedway. And thank you so much, Gene, for that amazing show. We have to let him go. He's having tacos, and I want tacos. Actually, I make tacos like every night. I buy the hamburger meat and stuff, and I make tacos. I love Mexican food, so I make tacos all the time, and I buy all this like refried beans and tacos. It's really great. So anyways, it was great having Gene. Next show, we have a young Speedway rider named Wilbur Hancock. Do you know Wilbur Hancock? He's the son of legendary four-time world champion Greg Hancock. Wilbur's a nice young man. He's going to be on the show tomorrow. He keeps calling me like, when are we going to do the show? And I say, Wilbur, we're going to do it tomorrow. So we want to promote the sport of Speedway. We want to watch it grow. It's all about Speedway, and we're so excited to do that show with Wilbur. And we have the former United States, two-time United States Speedway champion, Aaron Fox. He's going to be in the Hive and after Wilbur the next day. So we have Wilbur tomorrow night and Aaron Fox in the Hive the next night. So we're going to, have a really good show. We're really excited about these two. And we have a lot more people. Bruce Penhall's coming on. I haven't asked Bruce what day he wants to come on, but we have Bruce, the Fox Penhall, coming on. So we got some great shows. It's all about Speedway. We want to promote the sport, and we want to see it grow. So we're so grateful for that you could join us tonight in the Hive, the Beehive. Woo! And we want to wish you a happy new year, 2021. We want lots of racing, and we want to see some good stuff. And also, if you like the show, you can subscribe, ring the notification bell, because we got all these shows coming up, and that way you'll be notified of the next show. So thank you so much for watching the live stream. We appreciate your time. And Gene Woods, thank you, Gene Woods, and rest in peace, Brother Rick. We love Rick Woods so much, and the Woods family. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow night. Wilbur Hancock will be in the Hive. And have a great night. Happy New Year, and God bless. We'll see you next time.